are back on another episode of Sports Slice, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Mikayla Boykin, who is a former Duke and UNC Charlotte women's basketball player, and also had to do some research. You were voted the Gatorade North Carolina Player of the Year and North Carolina Miss Basketball as a senior in high school. We got to give a little round of applause for that. That is so big time. Congrats. How have you been?
Thank you. I've been well. I've been enjoying life, trying to take it one day at a time and figure out ways that, I can impact lives. Like I said, one day at a time.
Love it. And you had a pretty fun, interesting weekend at WNBA All-Star?
Yep, WNBA. It's just always fun just to even watch the growth of the women's game, and just see everybody come together in Chicago, for the W, to support the W, and just get together and just have a good time.
Yeah, and it's crazy how quickly the league has grown over the years. And I've been a supporter of the W and really enjoyed watching women's basketball kind of my entire life. I'm one of those people that's if there's sports on, I'm watching it. I don't care if it's a Division III school from wherever or whatever it may be. But it's so fun to see that over the past 3, 4, 5 years, the W has the popularity has just exploded. And it's got to be super exciting for somebody like yourself that's, kind of really intertwined to the W and to women's basketball in general.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think it started, back with our OGs, right? Being able to, watch them pave the way for the W to be where it is today. I think it's so cool to see. I went to a panel with Dawn Staley, Diana Taurasi, Kayla McBride, and Raven Johnson. And just to hear them, speak about the game and, their thoughts and all that, it was just amazing to see. Amazing to see how you have someone like Dawn, back in her day doing the things she's doing. And then you have, a youngster like Raven, doing what she's doing and just kind of seeing everything in between it. It's just crazy to see. It's crazy.
Those are some goats also, by the way. And
right?
I'm a big Diana Taurasi fan. Like I said, I'm from Arizona originally. So when I think of the Mercury, the first thing that I think of, Diana Taurasi. She is the embodiment of the Phoenix Mercury. It's
oh, for sure.
It's awesome.
For sure.
But you yourself, you've kind of had a very crazy and wild, unique high school / college career. Like we said before, voted Gatorade North Carolina Player of the Year. Insane. Ranked top 10 player in your class coming out of high school. What was your recruiting process like? Because, you kind of had one of the more unique high school careers of you missed, 2 seasons with injuries?
Yep. 2 seasons with injuries. Recruitment for me started honestly back in 6th grade, which is so crazy to say. I started playing with the guys. So my dad, he started an AAU program, and it was just a way for me and my brothers to be able to travel and stuff. We couldn't really afford to go play for any of those super top teams whenever we were younger. So my dad was like, let's just, start an AAU program and get all the guys from our neighborhood. It wasn't a lot of girls that played, so we didn't have a lot of girls on the team. At one point I was the only girl. And we would go to tournaments and we would play. And the coaches, my dad would call the coaches prior to the games, and he was like, hey, I have a girl on our team. Are you okay with her playing? The coaches would laugh at him and be like, yeah, she could play. There's no big deal. And then we would go out there, and then you get complaints because we just beat them by 40 with me being a leading scorer. And then essentially that just turned into me, playing with the girls and then starting recruitment 6th grade. Got my first offers from Duke and UNC. And then committing to Duke in the 8th grade. It just happened so fast, but it was kind of cool to see.
That's crazy. What was that like? Being a 11 through 13-year-old in some of the biggest programs in the history of basketball, college basketball, just being hey, you are the future of our program.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, coming from where I come from, you don't see that often. So to go to a middle school game of mine and see Duke and UNC sitting beside each other at the championship game, like as a kid, you don't really understand, what's happening and what's about to happen for your life. But my dad and my mom, they will always tell me like, this is unusual. Like you don't see this often. But for me, it was just like I wanted to be a kid. I want to go run around at football games and play with friends rather than watch the football games. That was just kind of like my vibe. And it
Right.
was times where, we would have to talk to coaches and I would pretend like I was asleep because I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to no more coaches today. I just want to be a kid. So yeah, it was just super crazy.
Yeah. And what was it like? What was it balancing that? Like, I know you mentioned like you just want to be a kid. But like at the same time, like you've got some of the biggest names, trying to convince you as a 12-year-old, like, what was it like in terms of, hey, like there's a moment where this is serious, but also like I'm a kid at the same time. Like, were the coaches super understanding of that, or like what was the whole, I guess, like vibe around the situation? Because it is so unique, and like your story is one that I've only heard of two times, being yourself, and then Danny Woodhead with football. Like he was recruited as like fifth grader or whatever, but like that
Yeah.
just doesn't happen.
For sure. No, I think my parents did an amazing job balancing everything for me. It was tough because, at a young age you become this public figure. So it was times where we would go to grocery stores and like we couldn't even get through shopping because so many people would try to stop and take pictures and, every time we would move, someone else was coming up. So my parents kind of banned me from going to stores with them, which was super funny, but I didn't mind. But like I said, like they did an amazing job balancing everything, and coaches understood too. Like she's a kid. My parents are gonna take the lead, and if my parents let me drive the boat in certain situations. So if it was a school where I knew like no, I have no interest going in there, my parents would shut it down immediately. We're not gonna lead anybody on. But the schools that I'm really interested in, they did a really good job of nurturing those relationships and making it appropriate for me to be able to talk to them whenever I finished playing outside or whatever that was.
Right. That's awesome too. And it's nice that you had that really supportive system too, that it was like, kind of kept you in check in a way of like, hey, like you're still a kid. Get
Yep.
to enjoy your childhood, all that kind of stuff. So eventually, you go through high school, you go to Duke. What was it like playing inside the historic Cameron Indoor Stadium?
It was amazing. It was amazing. Like and I know that sounds so cliche, but it's a stadium that everybody should try to at least get a game in at least one time or visit it. It's so small and intimate that at times whenever we're playing, you can feel the floor shaking while you're playing. That's how like intense it is. But it's super cool. And then to be able to just look and see like Coach K's court on the court, like Coach K is an amazing guy, super super humble guy, super sweet. He always made sure that he spoke to everybody. We've had a lot of conversations just on elevators or in passing. But it's just a moment that everybody got to experience at least one time in their lifetime.
100%. And it's got to be so unique as a player with, the crazies that are literally right behind you, as close
For
as they
sure.
possibly could get. That's
Oh,
amazing.
for sure. I
Yeah.
remember I remember and I'll tell this story, but I remember one day we had I don't know what we did. We might have gotten in trouble or something like that and we had to do like a 4:45, be at the gym by 4:45 a.m. for some conditioning or something. I can't remember. But they were camping out for the UNC, basketball tickets, right? And they do like the can or the tents and stuff all down the line.
Yep.
And it was so funny because um if you don't, they have to like blow like a horn or something, and if you're not there to check in, then you lose your tent, your people lose the tent. So it's early in the morning and you see people sprinting across campus trying to get to the tent checks, and I'm just like, y'all are insane. Mind you, it's like 30 degrees outside. So I'm like, y'all are insane for this, but that right there let me know that it's a different level, like a different level of support from the crazies.
100%. And I mean, Duke fans, UNC fans, unreal. Like that
For
rivalry,
sure.
and I mean, you can speak on it. Like that rivalry, people will say Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Alabama. Like they say all these SEC schools, all that kind of stuff. There is something special about specifically Duke men's and women's basketball versus UNC's men's and women's
Yep.
basketball. Like it is,
Yep.
I've never seen anything like it. Like it is
Oh yeah.
unbelievable.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But
100%.
it's like a joy to see because the fans are gonna ride.
Right.
Win, lose, or draw, they're gonna ride.
Right. Was there one specific moment throughout your 4 years at Duke that really stood out against UNC? Like, was there something that was like, hey, like, I'm going to remember this to the end of time kind of thing? I'm putting you on the
Um,
spot.
a specific moment. Um, I would say it was a moment where we lost to UNC. Now, obviously, it was a lot of joys with winning and stuff like that, but I can recall this moment where we lost to UNC, and we got home pretty late that night, just after the loss and stuff. And it was a game we should have won, 100%. And our coach made us come to the film room the very next morning, fully dripped out in our gear, and turned off all the lights on us. And we had to watch film for 2 hours straight. Mind you, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. So like everybody, and they're like, I promise you, nobody better fall asleep. And like, think about it. It's 2 hour film, and they're rewinding it back and forth. Like if somebody missed an assignment, they're rewinding it. So we just played the night before. Now we got film early morning, and now you're telling us don't fall asleep, but you're gonna also rewind all the film. Oh man, that was a moment I was like, yeah, we can never lose again, never.
I'm telling you, there is something different. And anybody that's never been a college athlete doesn't comprehend this, but whether it's after a win or even after a loss, having to sit there and watch film early in the morning in a dark room and like you're trying to do everything to keep yourself awake. Like you're like literally holding your eyes open. Like it is so hard to explain to people. They're like, "Oh, it's fine." No, like
No.
it is a different feeling sitting there
Yep.
and watching the same play or the same clip for 10 minutes and having a coach break it down. It's like, oh my goodness, like
Exactly.
I'm just gonna have to stand up this entire time. Like it's
Exactly.
crazy.
And don't let coach catch you, getting crossed up or something. Oh my. Like rewind 10 times in a row. Like I didn't just see it like the first two times you've shown it already. So
Right,
like
right. Like
it's so
it's a
funny.
quiet room, and the coach is just staring at you, just like,
Right?
what's going on here?
Like what happened here?
It's like what happened. We all just watched it for the past 5 minutes. Let's go to the next clip.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
hysterical. That's hysterical. So while at Duke and maybe also in high school, I'm not sure, but you wore the number 12. Was
Hmm.
there a special meaning behind the number 12, or was it just like a number that they gave you and they're like, cool, I'm sticking with this?
Yeah, like it's a couple different meanings behind it. One of my favorite, I guess, sayings is never have one too many reasons why you can't do something, which is super cool for me because I'm like the type of person that I enjoy a challenge, and I never try to make an excuse for anything that I'm doing. So I developed kind of that like phrase whenever I was going through my injuries and um, you know injury after injury. It was like something that I kind of like held close to my heart. But prior to that, it's so funny because my cousin, she used to play basketball as well, and Ivory Latter was one of her favorite players, and she wore 12. So it was just like kind of following in their footsteps, and then I kind of just developed it myself and was like, this is my saying now.
Love that. Love that saying too. Also, I might have
Thank
to
you.
borrow that because
Oh yeah.
I actually in college also wore the number 12. So that's some people know this, not a lot of people, but my TikTok name, the 12 at the end is because I wore number 12. Completely different reason.
Iconic.
Yep. I wore 7 in high school. Thought I was going to wear 7 throughout the rest of my career. And when I was a freshman in college, obviously you don't really get to pick your number.
Yeah.
And the equipment manager was a huge Patriots fan, played
Mm.
quarterback, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
Tim, your name's like Tom, you're Tim Brady. And I was like, cool, like I'm gonna have to just stick with this, like Tim Brady, Tom Brady. So, but I really like that saying, and like I said, I'm gonna have to borrow that.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Love that. So you kind of touched on it. You had a very unique and challenging college career slash high school. Was it 5 ACL injuries?
5.
That is unbelievable. So,
Yep.
how did each of those injuries change you not only as a player on the court, but also as a person? And what really kept you motivated through all the obstacles?
Yeah. I'll answer the first question. The injuries changed me in so many different ways. At first it changed me in the worst ways possible. It was like I didn't know what was going on with myself. I was falling into like a deep depression. It was just trying to figure out like, hey, you just stripped the whole, this is my life. The game is my life, right? And you just stripped that away from, a young athlete who was, one of the top athletes in the country at one point, right? And whenever I first toured, I was 14 years old. So imagine being 14 at the time. I'm actually ranked number one in the country, and you strip that away from me, and you're like, okay, you're gonna be back, but I have to wait a whole year to be back. So I come back, and immediately after I come back, I tear it again. So now you stripped it away from me again. So now that's 2 years in a row, right? And now I drop down in the rankings again. And for me, the rankings didn't really matter. But as a kid, you read a lot of things and you see a lot of things, and it's just like people are talking, and that can mess with you a little bit. And get to college, and I think that's whenever perspective kind of, you know, took over for me. And it was really understanding perspective for me, and what does that mean, and how am I going to look at perspective of me getting injured. So that is whenever it changed for the best for me, right? Identity. People talk about a lot, in sports. Is sorry, my cat is literally, he wants
So
to be a
you're
part
good.
of the show. But you talk about identity crisis, and it's something that a lot of athletes struggle with, right? Figuring out who you are whenever the ball stops bouncing, or whenever you're not, you walk off of the field. And for me, it was a way for me to be able to really understand who I was as a person. So whenever I was at Duke, everything centered around basketball. But whenever I had my fourth ACL surgery, I was like, okay, it's time to go, find a new walk of life, right? And that contributed to a lot of my decision to go to Charlotte, right? Whenever I, made that decision, it was a decision for me. It wasn't a decision for basketball. It wasn't a decision for anybody else. It was a decision I made for myself. And in turn, it really helped me figure out who I wanted to be as a person, not as the athlete. It was who's Mikayla going to be as a person, which I feel like really, really helped shape who I am today. And whenever you look at perspective, you don't look at the, what ifs. I don't ever look at the what ifs nowadays. Like, what if I was, never got injured? Where would I be? No, it's I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Perspective
Right.
led me to that, right? So yeah, that's kind of like, where I am now. And then what was the second part of your question?
It was like, who or what kept you motivated through all the different obstacles that you faced over the years?
For sure. And I'll say my family. My family
Hmm.
was my biggest motivators. Watching them support me through everything, even though I know it was hard for them too. The decision for me to continue playing, I know my mom was stressed out. Oh my gosh. She like, I couldn't even have that conversation with her anymore because she's just like, I'm here to support you, whatever you want to do to make you happy. But deep down, I knew that she was probably like, if you don't go put those shoes over the power line right now. But yeah, family definitely. It helped that my brothers both played college basketball as well. So to be able to see them, do the things that they love and dreamed of doing, I still wanted to be in conversations with them, and we compete all the time. So that was like my biggest motivation. Like they never let me just sit down on my butt and just soak. It was always no, let's go get better. Let's go to the gym. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. So that was super helpful to have.
That's awesome. And I mean, that's a great perspective to have because you hear so many times where, kind of break it down here, but like, first off, injuries are so devastating to so many people's like mental health of like, you've played this sport for so long. And then, whether the sport is taken away for a month, 2 months, or a year, like people don't know what to do with themselves.
Yep.
And so like the avenue that you took it was incredible. And I mean,
For sure.
it's in a way it sounds like it helped you develop the post playing career while you were still playing, which I think is
Yep.
something that and you kind of touched on it. Some athletes really struggle finding that identity after the cleats or the shoes or whatever it may be are hung up. And it's like, one minute you're an athlete, after that last game, it's like, what am I now?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Nope. I agree.
100%. And so, what advice would you give to a young athlete or an athlete just in general right now that is dealing with injuries of their own?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would definitely, some advice I would give is never lose yourself in the midst of chaos, because injuries, perspectives, all of that is chaos. And if you submerge yourself within all of that, then you're just going to lose yourself. So, trying to figure out ways that, you can kind of water your plants, or put juice in your cup, fill your cup, right? Whether that's finding things that you enjoy doing outside of your sport. I think that was super helpful for me because, I picked up journaling and writing music and rapping, which was something that was like, good for me because I didn't think about basketball whenever I was doing that. So yeah, definitely, figuring out little things that you enjoy doing, whether that's doodling or listening to music, doing some artwork, something like that.
Love that. Who's on the playlist right now?
J. Cole, 100%.
Ooh,
Top of the
okay.
list.
Love
Top of
that.
the list.
I'm a big J. Cole guy, so I'm all
Come
for that.
on, let's go.
Would you put J. Cole like top rapper right now, or who are you
Yes.
saying? Okay.
I'm
Love it.
and I'm a little biased because J. Cole, we're from around the same area. So I'm from the 910. So like
Okay.
it's inevitable. Like I'm gonna ride for Cole no matter what.
Love it. What do you think of Drake's new album? Semi new, but new album.
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't listened to it all the way through. Like,
I'm right there with you. There's like what is it, like 41 songs that he released or something like
yeah.
that? Like
Oh my gosh. That's a
unreal.
lot. That's a
100%.
lot.
Like I mean, I think everybody's heard like the top, what is it, the 6 or 7 songs that it's constantly on, top of your like Spotify list or whatever.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
like I had no idea there was so many songs, and I finally clicked on his
It's a
album the
lot.
other day, and I was like, yo, I could sit here for this entire plane ride back from New York and listen to this
Yeah.
entire album. I didn't, but
Exactly.
that's crazy.
Exactly.
So you also kind of had a unique situation at your time at Duke because if I recall, you played for Coach, is it McCauley? And
Mm-hmm.
then Coach Lawson came in at the end of your time at Duke. What
Yep.
was it? What was it like going through the coaching transition, not only just as a normal athlete, but also with having some of the injuries and having to rebuild and create new relationships with different coaching staffs?
Yeah. I think, Coach P, she recruited me the entire way through whenever I was young, right? So that relationship is a little bit different simply because, we spent a lot of time with each other. Even when I got on campus, I was a true freshman. So playing as a freshman, starting, and having a good time. So, we've had a long time to build that relationship. So whenever we did get a new coaching staff in, it was actually COVID year, when COVID actually went crazy. So we ended up opting out of that season. So I didn't spend a lot of time with Coach Lawson. It was more so just, we go do a couple practices and then we all opted out. I think we played a couple games or something like that. Opted out the season, and then the rest is kind of history. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So
How was that COVID year for you? Because I know, like football wise, originally they said, hey, like we're not playing, and I mean, I played in the NAIA, so like
yeah,
we still had our season, and they're like, like it's fine, like we'll be the biggest show in North Dakota or whatever, and I was like, all right, like cool.
yeah.
But like, what was it like for yourself, like your season over essentially before it started, and so like, was it nice kind of getting away but still being an athlete, or was it just like you were itching to get back out on the court and being like, all right, like let's go?
Yeah, like it was it was a little weird that we weren't really on campus a lot, but I also like, I enjoyed the time because I was spending it with my family, going back home, and you know it was just like that time that you don't really get as a student athlete, because you're either doing summer sessions or whatever. But no, it was time that we got to be home, chilling with the family. Like, me and my family, we would do different games and stuff in the house where we were just like we would get fart spray and we would spray it in like windows and stuff, and like, pranks. We'll do like water pranks indoors. So it was just a lot of time that you really don't get with your family to be able to, soak in those moments. But then whenever we got back on campus, everything was 6 feet away, tests all the time, um, you know, even practicing. It was so weird. It was just so
Yeah.
weird.
I think we can say it now. The testing sucked. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I get it. Like, keep everybody safe, all that kind of stuff. But with us, like, we were going through our season with COVID. Like, we were playing August, September, October of 2020,
Exactly.
and it was like every week we were getting the nose swab. I never want to get another nose swab again. Like, went through like 20 of them. I'm like, guys, like, I get it, but like, come on. Like,
Right.
it was like a total fever dream thinking about being an athlete during COVID. And it's like this, there were so many things that, and I'm sure you guys went through the same thing. There were so many things that we had to do in between lockers and stuff like that. It's
Yep.
like
Yep.
unreal. So
No, it was bad. It was bad.
yeah,
And then like the way that they stuck the thing up your nose, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, nope. Like 3-4
uh,
times a week.
yeah, it's like,
Every
let me do
day.
it myself. Let me do it myself. Do not make me cry.
Right.
It's crazy. Like I said, it's truly like a fever dream. And it's nice talking to, athletes that went through the same thing, because the young kids now, they're like, nah, they're like, high school wasn't bad. Yeah, sure, high school wasn't, but college, let me tell you, the stuff that we had to do, come on. But so after your time at Duke, you transferred to UNC Charlotte 2021.
Uh-huh.
Dominated, by the way, Conference USA second team, Conference USA all tournament team, and a double-digit scorer in 25 of the 30 games played. Let's give another round of applause for that. That's big time. Come on. What was that season like for you personally? And how did it feel, getting back to like your true form after all the different setbacks and everything?
Yeah, I think whenever, I talked about this earlier, but whenever, I made that decision to go to UNC Charlotte, it was a decision I made for myself, for nobody else. And to be able to, my game reflected that. It wasn't a lot of pressure on me. It was just go out there and do what you can, because I've already had so many injuries. Coach already knew what they were getting whenever I came there, and they embraced that, right? So it was times where, I would have to sit out of practice because my body would physically be shutting down on me. Like my legs wouldn't work or my legs would hurt so bad. But they understood that. So they took really, really good care of me. And whenever it came game time, they knew that I was going to contribute in all the ways that I can. But with that being said too, like I would go out there and I would literally be chilling. I was just chilling. And somehow the game just always, it just came to me. I always allowed the game to come to me, and it was a super success. It didn't help. Well, I guess it did help that I had, greats like Octavia Jett Wilson, who, scoring 40 a game, and Jada McMillan, our point guard, who took a lot of the load off of me, and, Kiki McKinney, who came from Kentucky, and Cam Roach, who came from Kentucky. So I had all of these different pieces to be able to help support my game. So whenever I knew I needed to score, all right, give me the ball, I'll go score. When I knew that Tay would just take over the game, I can go sit in the corner and get a break. So it was really a joy to be able to play with some amazing players. Unexpected, like nobody knew that we were gonna all be at the same school. It just happened, just so organically. But it was a joy. I think that my body really enjoyed that season as well, until it didn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say that roster, looking back at it, so stacked. Like,
Yep.
kind of just out of nowhere, like you said. Like, unbelievable to look at. And even some of the rosters and teams that you played at with Duke, like there were some really talented
Oh,
names.
for
Is
sure.
there a player, and it could be at Duke, it could be at Charlotte, that like really meshed well with your game? Like you guys were like the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade kind of situation.
LeBron. Um, okay,
It's
two
a tough
different
one.
answers. Yeah, it is tough. Two different. I really enjoyed playing with Lexi Brown. Not just because, Lexi was one of my best friends at Duke, but because Lexi was a go-getter. She anything she did, she worked super, super hard at it. And that was just coming in as a freshman, that was something that, I needed to see, from her perspective. And then when we get on the court, it was get Lexi the ball, Lexi knock down the shot. So that was a super joy to be able to play with her. Second, super, super joy to play with Octavia Jet Wilson. Um, it was just like, back and forth. If I needed to score, I would do it. If she needed to score, she would do it. So it was just like we fed off of each other really, really well.
That's awesome. And if you had to pick, I know we talked about, the Duke UNC memory, but is there a moment throughout your entire collegiate playing career that just stands out to you as like your favorite moment?
Favorite moment. I mean, sounds so cliche, but winning a championship. That moment was crazy. Like, you know, it's rare that you see teams win championships or being a part of that. Like, you only get one team per year that wins a championship. So to be able to do that and actually, take home the trophy and go through what we went through, like that season was not easy for us. We started the season getting blown out by like 50 points, but to get into conference play and only lose two games, it's crazy.
That's
And
insane.
definitely enjoy. So winning the championship, winning the conference championship, and then the tournament championship, that was the best feeling.
Love that. And what was it like playing in like the big dance? Like, had to be
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah. It was my entire career. I think we went. I think I went to the big dance twice. I want to say. Um, but to play in it without being injured was next level. It was next level. The travel, the experiences of being there with your team, all of that is just next level. Like a lot of people don't get to experience that as well, and to be able to do media days and to do shoot arounds on the courts and just be involved in all of the different collabs, brand partnerships, all of that. Like it was cool
And the fan support has to be like unreal. Like,
for sure.
I just can't fathom being a collegiate basketball player and you're playing in front of these. Now mind you, some of the fans aren't even like a fan of either team that's playing, but like just all
Yep.
these people at the stadium, like it's got to be such an unreal feeling. And knowing like it's do or die. Like if we win, like we're still
Mm-hmm.
going, and like if we lose, like this could be the last game of my career or my teammates' career or my coach, whatever it may be.
For
Like it's
sure.
got to be a mix of excitement, nervousness, a little bit of pressure. Like
For
what
sure.
what was going on?
Well, everybody's going to be super nervous in those moments. Like it was, our game was against Indiana. Indiana's fan base is insane. So, we get there and we're hyped. Like we're super excited about the game. We got a great shot at this. We come out there and Indiana's hitting fadeaways and spin moves and they're doing all types of like next level basketball play. Their back screens are on point. Everything is on point. So it was just like a eye opener for us. Ended up losing by a lot. But at the end of the game, we weren't super upset about it because one, for me, that was my very first season of playing a full season without getting injured. So if it was a different level of appreciation for me of just the game and then to be healthy for a whole season, man, I no win, lose, or draw could take me off of the high that I felt. Even after the game, I said, you know what, we lost. I'm gonna take this right here. Give me this plaque. Give me this rug that says NC March Madness. Give me all this that y'all got up here, and I'm putting this in my bag, and I'm taking home with me because this is an accomplishment for me.
Love that. What was the coolest thing, whether it could be, a partnership or just something that the NCAA gave you guys as gifts for making the big dance?
Yeah. What did I get? Dude, we got stuff all the time. It was like I think I got a TV that I still use to this day.
Seriously?
Yeah, like a Roku TV. It was like a what 55-inch something. I don't know. It was a good size TV. What else did I get? I got like a Beats or something. Um, we would get stuff all the time, and when I say like stuff, it's not like little chump things. It was like no, they roll out the big boxes for us. So
I think
yeah, it was good.
one of my favorite things with like TikTok and seeing the tournaments roll around as well as bowl season for college football is like getting to see the players do like their gear unboxings slash
Yep,
like the gifts that they get from whatever brand is sponsoring the bowl game or
exactly.
March Madness. Like it's crazy some of the stuff that they come up with, like
For
giving
sure.
out some super expensive watches and stuff. I'm like,
Right?
what is going on
Right?
right now? Like this is so
Mm-hmm.
sick, and it's cool too now with NIL,
Mm-hmm.
where before there was some like there were so many rules of like things that you could get and monetary value and all that sort of stuff, and now with the introduction of NIL, getting to see these athletes earn a very livable earnings from whether it's
Yep.
brand sponsorships or some of the like the big NIL collectives.
For
It's
sure.
cool to see the transformation and the shift, and you've kind of been a part of it. So post playing days, you were a co-founder and CEO of the M-Spire Sports Group for NIL.
Yep.
So what is it like for you as a now recently, former retired basketball player, coming back to the college world and navigating NIL?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I hold close to my heart because I was a student athlete who was a part of this. Right, I was a part of the very first launch. I negotiated my first deal with Bojangles by myself, which was super cool. And one of Bojangles' first athletes to work with them, and I did like a rapping video with them, and I did just some like regular content with them. But resources, that's the biggest thing for me, being of a resource for a lot of athletes coming up, but most importantly education. I think a lot of times within this NIL space, and this is something that made me want to launch my agency, was the fact that a lot of athletes aren't educated enough in this space. So what originally started with us going and traveling to universities to speak on what NIL was, let's educate on how to pitch, negotiate, what to look for in contracts, etc. It turned into us, evolving into something bigger right now. And when we think about the collegiate athletes, a lot of them, they just sign papers just to sign papers. They're like, "Yep, I get to do this. Let's just sign it without even reading it." But no, being able to have people like myself and my team to be able to come in and help and say, "Hey, no, let's give you the actual information on what this means. Let's help you understand what it looks like to be able to pitch to an organization, to negotiate what you're worth." Some athletes don't even know what to put as their budget. Like what are their rates? They don't know what to put. So being able to kind of walk them through that and teach them those things, I think that's our sole mission, is to be able to help, right? Be of service to others.
Right. And I think that's super important. And I think if you were to ask like a fan's perspective of NIL and, kind of the inner workings, I think 9.5 out of 10 would say there is nobody like you and your company that are like truly helping these athletes.
Yep.
And I think that's one of those big misconceptions with NIL where it's like these guys are just signing things and guys and girls are just signing things. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why is this athlete making $2 million? But like there's really like a
Yep.
breakdown to it that the average fan doesn't see. And so for you being so well versed in it and being fully into the NIL world, what would you say to the average fan that is still skeptical of it all?
Yeah, I mean, it's do your research. I think that's the biggest thing. Do your research. Don't just look on, Instagram or TikTok for information. No, people don't even know that it is NIL regulations out there that has pages and pages of information that you should do and don't, and all the information that you should know on what NIL is, and what it looks like for someone in your position. But people don't know enough to be able to go and research that, to be able to look. They're just taking the word for someone who kind of thinks that they know what's going on in NIL from TikTok. Right.
Right.
That's not going to give you, one, either they don't know what's going on, two, they're not giving you the entire story, or three, they're just as oblivious as you are. Right. So being able to do their own research yourself, I think that's going to be important, not just for the athlete, but the parents as well.
100%. And I think, I mean, there's always going to be the fans that are like, like this NIL thing is ruining college sports, which is just, I think is one of the, I'm just going to just put it flat out as like, it's one of the lamest statements people could say, because ultimately, like, you go and look at how much time is devoted by these athletes, regardless of sport, from fencing to basketball, football, whatever it may be. Like, these athletes devote so much time and truly 4, 5, 6 years of their lives into a sport, with the more than likely possibility that after college is over, like they're done. So if this has always been my thing, because I was in the similar category as yourself of, I graduated 2021. So NAIA passed NIL laws the year prior to the NCAA. And so, like, my last year, like, I had NIL opportunities and all that sort of stuff. Didn't know what I was doing. I was the athlete where I was just like, yeah, I'll sign it. Here, 25 grand to make a video? Sure. Sign on the dot. I don't know what I'm doing. But I've always been in the category of, look, like, if you can make $1 million, $5 million, $10 million in 4 to 6 years of playing a sport, do it. And like I said, I know there's some of the, like, we'll call it like the old guard, where they're like, no, that's not right. But the fact of the matter is, it's always been happening. It's just now it's like open, and it's a more even playing field.
Yep. Oh, for sure. No, I 100% agree. I think that I think this is a good step in the right direction, especially if we can get some, a couple different regulations, to kind of help filter the madness within it. And when I say the madness, I'm speaking on a perspective of, like, the agency side of things. Kind of regulating that. I think that would be super helpful for athletes to be able to really capitalize off of, what their value is and what they should be earning.
100%. And I think hopefully it doesn't happen too often, but like you said, you kind of hear every once in a while of, like, a unique story where like an agent isn't actually an agent. It's like just like a buddy that's like, hey, like, I'll represent you. I know what I'm doing. And it's like, ooh, this is probably not a good situation.
Yeah. And that's the bad thing about it, because you have those family friends who are like, I'm going to represent you, and then you actually go with someone who actually knows what they're doing, and now your family member, quote unquote, are taking 20% of your earnings, right? Not just for the year either. This is long term, but you don't know that because, you just kind of just been doing whatever. So it's a lot of people out there like that, man. So unfortunate, but
it's so fascinating. Like I said, the whole world of NIL is one of the most intriguing things. And I always say, like, a fan should really sit there and, kind of like you said, do your own research and, like, really get into the nitty gritty of NIL, because it is so much more than just players making money. Like, it's a business, and it's a really reputable business, regardless of the whole, small couple bad apples here and there, which is like, you get that in every profession. But you guys are crushing it. You're doing a great job. Last question here, and it might be one of the hardest to answer. Maybe it's easy. Some people it's hard. When people look back at your playing career, and even just your time in college, or even now, what do you want people to remember you by?
Oh, it's tough.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot here. Always end with the hardest question.
I want people to remember me for, not just the athlete. I want to be known for, or remembered for, making an impact, right? It's a saying that I always used to go by, and it's changing lives one bounce at a time. So how many lives can I impact within, one encounterment, when I encounter someone or throughout someone's lifetime? How can I be of service? And, I was always, I want people to say that I was always that person that was looking out for others and wanted to help. I know my basketball skills, will be known forever. In a certain capacity, it's gonna die down eventually one day. But the impact that I've made on others are gonna last a lifetime, for sure.
There we go. Love it. Appreciate you coming on here, Mikayla. If people want to follow you on social media, what is your social media handles?
Yes, all my socials are Mikayla_NIYEL, Mikayla_Niel.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, again, appreciate you coming on and taking the time here, and should be a fun rest of the WNBA season. Also, I got to ask.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a preference on who's going to win the championship for the WNBA this year?
The Lynx.
Love it.
I only say the Lynx because I'm really liking the way that Olivia Miles is playing right now.
Love it.
She's
and
playing at a
Nafisa
high
Collier's
level.
coming back? I think she's back this week.
Yeah, she's back. She's back.
Okay.
So that is scary times.
100%. It should be fun watching the rest of the season. But again, like I said, it's been great having you on here. If you ever want to come back on, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I got to come back on and interview you. That's what I got to do.
There we go. Turn it around here.
Turn it around. Turn it
Love
around
it.
on you. But no, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.